Now, the marketing industry is undergoing a major transformation today. As we already know, AI is altering the marketing world, opening up an unexplored possibilities in business. But how is AI impacting the sphere of advertisement? Let's hear all about this topic on our next Fireside Chat, which is Programmatic Advertising, AI reforming the advertising sector. To shed light on this topic, we have a Miss Amanda Bernard, who is the Chief Marketing Officer at One Click Technology Group, and Mr. Jonathan Cummings, the Alliance Manager at Deloitte. The stage is all yours, guys. Do you guys have mics already? Sorry, you have your mic. Yeah, okay.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Oh man, no.
Oh.
Good afternoon. Oh, I mean, I know we just had lunch and everything, but you know, we're just hoping for a little bit more energy as we talk about artificial intelligence within the advertising and marketing space. Yes, exactly what we're looking for. And so the way we're planning on doing this conversation is we're exactly going to have it like a conversation. I'll be a pseudo moderator, and I'll ask a couple questions, and she'll ask a couple questions, and we'll go back and forth. But we're hoping to make this more conversational than just me throwing a bunch of questions at you. That works?
Yes, that works.
Okay. Yes.
Everyone, you can either project your voice or you're welcome to walk up to the mic and ask your question.
Okay.
Okay.
Ooh, that's awesome.
Starting now.
Starting now. So, first question. How has programmatic advertising evolved in the past decade, and what major advancements have contributed to its growth?
So, at least in my opinion, there's been huge advancements in the past 10 years. Big data being one. We now have data from so many different sources to be able to segment and actually work with. The other one, which is the big hot topic right now, is AI. But in terms of advertising, this isn't a new thing. It's been around for over a decade, used in bidding strategies, in dealing with data in general, and in terms of writing the ads. So I know right now, from December on, AI has been like, oh my God, we're all going to turn into machines. That really hasn't been the case. So, and then it's also been the emergence of social media and getting all kinds of actual user data from that, which is also tends to be a negative when you talk to people about it, but we get a bigger understanding of the segments and user behavior. So within the last 10 years, there have been leaps and bounds.
Well, kind of thinking along the lines of social media. So I'm a millennial, so, right? Social media is, I use a lot of social media. And, you know, with social media, it's opened up a lot of different avenues, right? So we see things now like influencer marketing, right? So the impact of influencers from, you know, Mr. Beast was brought up earlier today as pretty much a YouTube mogul, right? But you have all these influencers now on Instagram, TikTok, whatever your thoughts are on TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, Threads, right? So in my opinion, you know, social media is also important, and the influencer marketing. Do you believe that influencer marketing is a way to target a younger generation?
Yes, however, most of these influencers are bought already by corporations.
Oh, they're already bought?
Oh, they've been bought. I mean, or most of them are corporations themselves. You brought up Mr. Beast. He has run the gamut and has his own line of just about everything. Same with, I have kids, I don't know if anybody else does, but Ryan also is a corporation. His parents made him a corporation. So yes, it's a good way to target the younger generation, but at the same time, it's a catch-22. Most of these people are great. Sunshine and rainbows.
Sunshine and rainbows. How about micro ads? What do you think about micro ads?
I like micro ads.
Why micro ads?
Being able to segment down to such a small level, you can target ads completely for, let's say, the 18 to 25-year-old bracket in Northeast Ohio, in Cleveland specifically. You have the ability to actually target down to a very small group. Geofencing is amazing. Being able to blast out specifically within small areas and micro-target it's been great. And especially if you're looking at small businesses who are looking to take it to another level. Because they don't have the budget to do a lot. So things like geofencing is a great option for them.
Okay. All right, so kind of going back to something you brought up earlier on about artificial intelligence, right? So now for the next question, how will AI make creatives obsolete? Do you think they will be?
I think it's going to change what current, let's just take marketers. I think it's going to change what the position actually is. I think it's going to get rid of a lot of the stuff that we already can't stand doing. The menial tasks that take up a ton of time that AI can just quickly bam, 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 and you can actually get to what you need to do. I think it's also going to help us quite a bit in terms of keeping on task. Between AI agents that you can pretty much train to be your virtual assistants, to literally the sky's the limit at this point. I think it's going to change what a digital marketer is. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I definitely think it's going to change how we think about content, and I think it's going to become more prompt writing, editing based, rather than strictly writing and then going to the editing. I think somebody needs to actually have a good understanding of, if you're going to use AI, how to prompt it the correct way and how to actually then start training. I'm sorry, her hand went up, so I felt like, no, never mind. Her hand is not up.
How about the...
No, her hand is up.
Oh, sure.
Sorry.
Prompt engineers?
I think it's a great thing. So in the software and tech industry in general, the whole prompt engineer title started emerging relatively early this year, and I think it's a great new position, because I do think that's more of a specialty. You can't, yes, AI has come out, and they did a survey earlier, and about 50% of people use ChatGPT, and it was a little bit more on the Dolly Mid-Journey stuff. But just because you're using it doesn't mean that you're using it effectively, or that you're using it in a way that is going to get you the type of results. And I've also seen a lot where people are just like, cat, that means nothing. Like, so I think a prompt engineer is actually a good thing, and I hope that that's the way digital marketing is turning. I also think that that person who is the prompt engineer, whether that's the title or whatever any company wants to call them, is the content person, that is prompting, they're reading through whatever gets spit out, and then is taking that and then spinning it a little bit more. So I think it's more than just somebody that's just writing prompts. That sounds too generalized, and I also don't think it gives the person the credit that they need if they are that prompt engineer.
So let me quickly jump in. I
Sorry.
see some hands here as well.
Sorry.
No, it's amazing, right? It's amazing. Yeah.
Right.
Right, so let's say, for example, I'm a senior architect of whatever. I can get the best prompts out of whatever project I can run. Versus someone in high school looking to build whatever, right? They're not going to know the right questions to ask, right? Frame the context and setup, right? Say, with marketing, I know shit about marketing. But someone like y'all can ask the right questions and engineer the right solution from the model.
So to kind of summarize and answer random questions, a lot of people are afraid that artificial intelligence, AI, is going to replace people. I mean, that may be true to some extent, but there's going to be a high demand for prompt engineering, right? People who know how to utilize and use AI. How do you prompt it properly? How do you tell it exactly what to do so it gives you close to what you want, or exceeds that expectation? With the right domain and everything. You can't just write cat in mid-journey and get,
I mean, it's ridiculous what you'll get back. So,
right? But
no.
as far, just let me quickly summarize this. So as far as when it comes to creatives as well, because, as I mentioned, I don't think AI will replace creatives, people who are into the art stuff. It can empower creatives. It just depends on if the creators, the artists, are willing to utilize artificial intelligence. And I made a little joke earlier about social media, just a little jab at myself. So I use Instagram a lot. Truthfully, I use it for funny videos and a lot of micro learning, because there's a lot of useful content on there, to be honest. And now I'm starting to see a lot of advertisements being developed by AI artists, AI content creators. And I'm just going to use this as a funny example. So I'm sure everyone here knows Harry Potter, right? So everyone here knows Harry Potter. Does everyone know the brand Balenciaga? So I'm not endorsing Balenciaga by what they do or whatever, but there have been some ingenious creators who utilize AI to make this like Harry Potter or Breaking Bad Balenciaga thing that's been trending on social media for a while. I mean, I knew about Balenciaga, but I never cared too much about looking at it for a while. And I think at a certain point in the future, I believe companies might start looking at that as a template, being like, oh, hey, how do we get the copyright for a very French-looking Harry Potter person to market our brand or something. So I believe that will be a part of the future with technology and AI as well. Any thoughts or more questions? Okay.
Sorry. In terms of what we're doing currently, the biggest change, because we've already been using some form of AI, at least looking at the big data sets, because it's huge data sets, the easiest way to crunch that is through using some sort of algorithm. But currently, it's the blank page problem. So let's say you have, 10 clients, and this month you need to do 24 ads total. Number one, switching from mindset of company X to company Y and getting that brand voice, it's not as easy as flip. If you're going from let's just say, a lawyer's office in California, and then you're switching to a toy brand. Switching that mindset is always difficult. So currently, one of the things that we're doing is getting the blog ideas, getting the ad ideas. Because I already have those generated, it helps to easier have that transition into their voice. The other thing we're using AI with the hashtag research, with some of the ads themselves, especially with some of the longer ads. Now, we're not taking whatever it spits out, because we all know that you can't do that. However, we are taking some of that, and then it's editing it down, editing it down, editing it down. And then it's reworking it to fit whatever your brand currently is. So that's how we're using it in advertising. In terms of actual blogs and content creation, we're also using it there. So I could have it, I'll put in a prompt, it'll give me 300 words, and then I can expand on that, or I can start breaking it apart and expanding on just certain parts. We've used it for outlining. Really, I will say that we use AI quite a bit, even if it's just for idea generation, because there's only so many times that you could stare at that whiteboard and go, oh God, like, yeah, I have 10 more minutes and I just need to throw something and maybe it'll bounce back at me.
So,
Sorry.
So kind of following along that train of thought, can you elaborate further about what other skills marketers need to utilize with utilizing AI to be successful in the future and in their field now?
So in terms of AI specifically, I think you need to think more like an algorithm.
Oh.
I know, that sounds crazy.
It's very valuable.
But all of these large language models, they're all a type of algorithm. And even if you're trying to rank with Google or Bing or any of them, no matter what, you need to start thinking like them. So when you look at, let's say, brown shoes, because they're right there. If you're trying to come up with a campaign around brown shoes, you need to start thinking how that algorithm is going to pull it up. So we've all seen the Wired, where they have a celebrity and they have those Google searches. So recently they did Tom Segura, and it's like Tom Segura, and he pulled it off and it's like, is dead. And he's like, yep, obviously. So even the algorithms are dumb. Mm-hmm. So we need to start thinking more strategically rather than thinking like creatives.
Okay, so thinking like an algorithm, thinking more from a logical context versus just solely as creative. So I guess along those lines, what skills, prompt engineering, knowing how to tell it what specifically to do, reshaping your frame of thought, right? I was also thinking, I toyed with this idea in my head for whether or not it would be useful for someone who's in marketing to take the time to invest in the hard technical skill like machine learning or something like that.
Yes, it's definitely useful. And not just specifically machine learning. I think anyone who's in marketing should have a strong technical background. being able to even just interpret code on the back end is a huge thing. And I've met many people who think WordPress is it and couldn't tell you what this piece of code is or this piece of code is. And then they're like, well, I don't understand why none of this is working. Yeah, that's because you're just doing whatever it is you're doing. And that's unfortunate because the technical skill that goes behind digital marketing is often overlooked, and there are times that digital marketers can be perceived as just flighty and dumb, and I hate that. And it really starts to get under your skin, especially if you do have a technical background. So
if you're in marketing, learning some technical expertise will be beneficial, right? Before we continue, are there any questions? Anyone? Okay, sorry. All right, so another conversational piece. So what are some of the challenges and opportunities that AI will bring in the marketing and advertising sector?
I mean, a lot of that has already been hit on this morning. So the transparency, there's the bias that some of the AI algorithms can pull, and it's not just ChatGPT or any of those. There have been multiple studies through MIT that show even like the facial recognition, there's bias. If it hasn't changed already, I'm not sure how quickly we can get that to change, but it needs to. I also think that some of the big opportunities are just, so I'm excited about AI. The fact that we get to learn this whole other realm, and it feels like everything's fresh again. For somebody who's been in the industry for more than a decade, that's amazing that there's this new toy that everyone's going to be using. It feels as though we're at that preface. Thank you. We're like, we all just got that AOL disk, and we just put it in, and you hear that noise that I can even hear right now. We're at the forefront of something big, and I think people are becoming too scared to actually realize that and embrace it the way that we should be.
You know, I definitely agree with you. So I'm also very excited about AI because it really highlights so much opportunity in the direction of the world. I mean, personally, I'll admit that even though I'm excited, it simplifies so many tasks. I mean, we've actually been using AI before it became mainstream. I mean, you know, what was Siri, right? What was Alexa? It's like AI with training wheels, to be honest, right? But I'm not scared. I'm cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
You know, I'm cautiously optimistic because there's so much we still don't know about it, or rather, we're just not fully aware of its capabilities, you know? And a part of me is thinking, being completely honest, this technology was unleashed in full force. Well, actually, has it been unleashed in full force? We don't know, right? But corporations, companies, whatever, had this kind of technology, right? They've just been slowly releasing it. So what else in artificial intelligence do they have that we're not aware of? So that's what I'm cautious about.
Okay.
That's what I'm cautious about. When it comes to some of the challenges with AI, to be honest, one of the major things which has been a theme that's been touched upon is the impact it will have on human capital, right? What does it mean for the workforce? How will people who decide to not utilize AI within their day-to-day task or just never took the time to learn about it, how will it impact them 5, 10 years down the line? It's almost like think of it this way, there's a generation of people who still don't know how to use the internet correctly.
Right.
You know, now with the rapid advancement of technology in artificial intelligence and machine learning, it's going to be a human capital gap where it's going to be a massive amount of people who don't know how to use AI and how that will impact their jobs. I mean, I don't know what the future will look like in 20 years. I can forecast and guess, but artificial intelligence is going to be an integral part of the future workforce, at least in developed countries, right? I mean, it's not like Jamaica. I'm from Jamaica. It's not like people in Jamaica are going to be using AI all the time as much as people in the US. So something like that. I saw a hand over here. Yeah.
So just kind of based along what you were just talking about, how fast it's advancing and everything, I mean, if you really think about it, ChatGPT was not popular at all until December this year, February last year. And how quickly it's already grown since it was introduced. Like, I remember like not too long ago we were like GPT-3, then GPT-4 came out, and that was like, I don't know, like 5 times as powerful. Like, at that speed of advancement, like they keep going along that same pattern. Because obviously as of right now, as we were saying, like nothing can really replace like a human yet, because there's still such a big gap between what we can produce with our thinking, what GPT can produce. But like, I don't know, in like maybe 1 or 2 years, do you think like we're gonna have to reach a point where like as like a marketing industry, there will have to be like a kind of like a call for not using AI in any way? Because like if you get to that point, like where does it stop?
So I don't think there's going to be a call to not use it because Google came out with Bard. I'm not saying that Bard is even close to GTP, but they've already been using it for, I'm sure they've been working on it since they found out that OpenAI was working on it. So let's just say 3 years. They've already started fixing their algorithms to start checking and looking at the variables that way. So I don't think there's going to be a call to stop. I think that this is just going to change the way that things have been done. Where it's more inclusive of AI rather than exclusive.
And kind of to talk a little bit or highlight the point you made about, you know, GPT-4, how more advanced it is than the previous version. It makes you think that they had this already figured out, right? It's almost a little too suspicious. You know, it's like you have this level of technology, and how did you release it so fast? You know, do we really know the full capabilities of this, or rather, does the public fully know the capabilities of artificial intelligence yet? I'm not too sure about that. Are there a select group of people, not to sound like a conspiracy theorist or anything? Maybe. You know, but I'm very sure that there are people, corporations, whatever, that are investing in AI, Deloitte, you know, all these places. They're investing in artificial intelligence already, and they're trying to figure out how to utilize these capabilities to, you know, make business processes easier, all these other things. But, you know, when more money is invested, more capital is invested, more architects come into the equation and fix or increase the capabilities of this machine. I don't know. I don't know how far or how incredible it will be in the future. No, I mean, like right now, it's already amazing. I don't know what will happen in 5 years, right? There'll always be a need for humans. Always there will be a need for humans, but you know, there's going to be an even greater demand, especially in the US, Europe, whatever, for people who can utilize AI, can talk about it, can use it in their daily tasks, work tasks, and streamline work projects or whatever it may be. So the demand for that is going to be incredibly high. Any other questions? Yes.
I'm just going to say this, it's just really going to come down to ethics, honestly. Because, I was talking with somebody a few months ago that was preparing for a seminar, and their seminar was about how to write prompts for AI. And he asked for my opinion on his presentation. And one of the things that he mentioned was how easy it is for AI to create content and customer quotes. And I said, but AI is not a customer. It's not a real person. How are you're getting some sort of praise on your performance from the AI. It's not actually a customer. And he looks at me and he goes, well, yeah, you're right. I probably should take that out. But if he's having that thought that you can have a quote from a fake person on your site, those are the kind of things we're going to have to start looking at. At the end of the day, how ethical are the individuals using these tools? Because in the wrong hands, people start doing some pretty crappy things.
I can't hear what you say. Sorry, we can't.
Yeah.
We're having a hard time.
There's a pass all of that. If passed, it's going to be $300,000 fine for being a quote on your website.
That hasn't been new with AI, though. There have been bots out there that we have had clients who have gotten either quotes or have even fully filled out through the checkout process. Those bots aren't going to go away. Yeah, they're probably going to get worse because of AI, but this isn't a new thing for our industry, at least. Just like any of the DDoS attacks that anyone has gotten, I'm sure are probably going to get worse. There are now more bots, there are more agents, there are more everything. So it's just adapting and learning that this is our new normal.
Yeah, for better or for worse, this is our new normal. When it comes to the ethics thing, I just had to quickly look this up because, micro-learning, right? Instagram. So with Bard, ChatGPT-4 now, there's already a lot of, ethical things popping up with it, right? But, as far as when it comes to, I guess I sound corny, but let's just say like regular folks who use these AI instruments for whatever it may be, for work, whatever. There's also going to be people who will be using these things for a malicious purpose, right? And I saw that on the deep web, there's an evil version of AI. And I just looked it up, it was like Bert or something like that, Dark Bert. And so, looking it up or like, just out of curiosity, learn about it, I saw that it's a little bit more powerful than ChatGPT, ChatGPT-4, whatever. And then again, I started thinking, I'm like, wait, so you have people in the deep web who create their own AI that has more capabilities. I'm like, is there like things that people are holding back? Like, how is it that people in the deep web, So just logically asking the question. Ethics, doing the right thing, doing the wrong thing, it all comes down to human morality, right? That's an existential question, a philosophical question. Whenever there's people doing good or doing certain things, there's always going to be people on the other side wanting to do something
Crazy.
Yeah, crazy, not so savory, right? Yeah, so when it comes to the ethics thing, it's almost like, do we believe in our, do we believe in our greater angels or worse demons? I don't know. As corny as that sounds, and I admit it, it sounds corny, but with artificial intelligence and the advancements of technology and things like that, I mean, it's not like we were going to ask the government to come and regulate everyone using AI, right? It's going to come down to the individual, you know, so it's like we're in the Wild West right now. How are people going to self-regulate? How are people going to utilize it for good and not use something like dark bird or whatever it is for evil, right?
Dark bird for evil. That's the
like
new
Darth
slogan. I think, at least in terms of advertising, it's going to allow us to do a lot more micro-segmentation and actually developing chatbots or chat agents that can give more of a user advertising experience, not just a user experience. We all like to talk about UX, especially when we're talking with clients and being like, oh, you need a new website too. Oh, we'll get more conversions, like, let's do all this stuff. But even in terms of advertising, if somebody is on your landing page for, let's say, your Instagram ad campaign, that you could have your little chat agent pop up and be like, hey, I know you like shoes too. I don't know why I'm stuck on shoes today. Look at these shoes. And even though they may not be like the original click, because you already have this profile of the person, you can train the chatbots to speak as your brand, recommend the best products for them as your brand, and take on your brand voice, which I think is it's only going to help with getting conversions for clients.
Any questions? Okay, so following up on that lens, you've mentioned AI agents a lot.
I do talk about them a lot.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit more about them? Like, give us a little bit more technical information about it.
So rather than just talking to ChatGPT or to any of the other platforms out there to generate results, there are ways to actually train your models. So you're defining all these presets, and then you actually build your own virtual assistant. I'm trying not to get very technical into like, but you can do that specifically within ads as well, which is nice. And there are a lot of different platforms out there to help. But creating the chat agents or the virtual assistants, let's say you have a shoe brand and
Back to shoes.
Back to shoes. Somebody has been going back and forth between two pairs. Your little chat agent pops up and it's like, hey, this is Tom, and I see that you've been going back and forth, but have you considered XYZ? And then that person could even ask them other questions, not about XYZ shoe, but about, let's say, sizing, which can be tricky. The actual specifications, really anything you can train these agents to do.
Okay.
Shoes was probably not the best example, but that is what keeps coming up in my head.
It's very useful. It's very useful.
Yeah, very useful.
But no, kind of dovetailing into another question here. So with the AI agents, right, and as AI becomes more sophisticated, will people be more receptive to advertisements or more opposed to it?
I think they'll be more receptive. Number one, because you're hyper-targeting them. So instead of seeing a ton of different ads, for the one I see literally all the time is like Peloton, in my Instagram feed, some weird shirt brand that just keeps popping up over and over that I don't know why it gets recommended, and baby cats with ducks. So that just tells you a little bit more about me than necessary. But because we already have all that info, you can hyper-target and get a better ROI for your clients. So I think they'll become more receptive, not less.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that people will be more receptive because they have no choice.
Yes.
We really don't, right, at this point? Let's be honest, right? Right there. Could you speak a little louder?
Yeah, sorry.
Follow up on the issue of AI and illusory chat agents and so on. And it strikes me that in some cases, people accept this idea. For example, actors playing doctors on television ads. I'm not really a doctor, but, and I guess the question I have for both of you is, there's certain tolerance level and acceptance that people have, even going back to the beginning of advertising, of entities, people that are not willing to say it. And I'm wondering if there's experience, there's been some experience testing of where that is acceptable, where it becomes a problem. Because I can imagine as advertising, you actually create a risk to the company if you're using AI and people don't realize it's AI, and then there's an expose that this company is actually making, customer response or something. So there's a talk a little bit about the concerns you would have, the risks perhaps that might exist or where they would in terms of using AI for creating illusory people, so to speak.
Okay.
Do you want to start this one?
Sure. So that kind of goes into the conversation about ethics as well, right? You'll have nowadays people's attention spans are so short. A lot of people won't even do the due diligence to look into whether or not a bot is real or this is a person or whatever it is. When people start paying a lot of attention, oftentimes when people start paying attention is when money is involved, so talking about the business aspect. I think when it comes to when you're involved in businesses and cash flow and money and everything, I would like to believe that there'll be people who pay more attention to whether the fallacy of something that's happened, like do a tighter due diligence type of thing on whether an entity claims is an actual established company or people who are trying to provide a service, or random bots who are targeting this whatever to almost scam you. Not necessarily, I don't want to use the word scam, but that's what kind of comes to mind. I think this is just bringing forward a massive ethical dilemma where right now in the age of AI, emerging tech, we're in the wild, wild west, right? It's like when social media or the internet just popped up. It was exciting, people are trying to utilize this to make money, do a whole bunch of different things, but there's not a lot of regulation. A lot of people don't know its true capabilities. Of course, there are going to be people who are going to utilize it for not so savory things, right? But how do we find a way to nip in the bud? How do we find a way to deal with random bots and people utilizing it to make a quick buck or scam people or things like that? Does the government need to step in? Probably not. Probably not. Is there going to be a demand for lawyers who focus in artificial intelligence? Maybe. Privacy law wasn't a thing back then, so maybe. So for that question, I'm just throwing out thoughts and ideas because there's just so many avenues in which we can go with this, but being completely honest, there are a lot of unknowns when it comes to AI regulation and pretty much trying to figure out how to sort through all the pitfalls that come in AI.
So I think the transparency of everything is very important, but I think everyone is forgetting that somebody spoofing as somebody else isn't something new, especially in the industry. It's more prevalent in the influencer side of it, where you can become anybody. And who's to say, let's say that I became an influencer overnight, but I'm using some sort of filter that's changing my appearance. Is it still me, or isn't it? So there's a lot of parts around this that's hard to say if it's ethical to do it. Because
It depends on what you're selling.
it does.
If you're selling a beauty product, using a filter
Oh.
price, then yes.
Yeah.
If you're selling shoes, right?
If you're selling shoes, does it really matter who the face is or if it's an auto-generated face? As long as the actual product itself is genuine, the rest of the ad, does it really matter? And we've been messing with ads for so long with Photoshop and any of these other editing tools. How much is actually real at this point?
Ooh,
I know.
what's real?
What's real and what's fantasy?
All right. Any last questions?
One last question.
One last question?
Thank you.
Starting to seem like that, right?
I know. That is our time, guys. Thank you.